Hello you guys, so we have our first homework video of the year for 1.1, and for this homework you guys are just going to be doing the ready and the go. So I'm going to get you started on each of these parts of the homework, and if you have any other questions, please come in morning, lunch, after school to get any extra help that you need. Please keep in mind, these videos are not me going over every single question on the homework. It's just something to guide you, to help you get started, hopefully answer some of the questions that you guys may have as you work through the homework. So if you don't have time to come in and get help during lunch, after school, before school, you guys can reference these videos. And feel free to pause, rewind, take notes as you guys are watching these videos. Take notes in your notebook, take notes in your textbook, whatever is most comfortable for you. All right, so in the ready part of this homework is 7 questions. You are being asked what operation or operations you need to do to get X by itself. So we've talked about this in class, how we undo operations. So I just want to remind us, so this is more going to be notes. If I have addition, how do I undo addition? We use subtraction. If I have subtraction, how do I undo subtraction? I use addition because these are inverses of each other. And if I have multiplication, I use division. If I have division, I use multiplication. Now there are some other operations that are going to start coming up in this class. We have square roots, we have squares. If I look over here in number 4, it's asking me, I undo the square root by. So just a reminder, if I have a square root, say I have a square root of x, I can get x by itself if I apply an exponent of 2. When we square a square root, they will cancel each other out. They undo each other. So to add to this list, if I have a square root, I am going to apply a square, so an exponent. So you can also think of it as something will be to the power of 2. And it works the other way as well. If I have an exponent of 2, I can get rid of it by applying a square root. They will cancel. And if I have an exponent of 3, I'm going to use a cube root. If I have an exponent of 4, I'm going to use a 4th root. And that may or may not make sense to you right now. Just focus on the square and the square root and the add, subtract, multiply, divide. I don't think you are going to need anything else here. Oh, you do have a cube and a 4th. So if I had a cube root, you would see it like that. If I had a 4th root, you would see it like that. There is an invisible 2 on all square roots. We just don't see it, but it is there, which is why we use an exponent of 2. So here with a cube root, you would use an exponent of 3, a 4th root, an exponent of 4, and vice versa. If you see an exponent of 4, you would use a 4th root. So they undo each other. So be careful when we are working through these, and make sure you remember to use both sides. Hopefully this will be enough to get you guys through the homework. If not, we will continue to discuss inverses throughout the chapter, so we're just beginning, and you can always come in and see me morning, lunch, and after school. All right, so we're going to skip the set. Let's move past that. And we're going to get to the go. Now, this is something you may or may not have covered, so I'm actually going to approach this as if this were something you have never done. And I don't really want to take away some of the problems you have to work on. And I know you guys are probably like, oh, just go ahead and do some of the homework problems. I don't want to, because you guys do need the practice. But I'm going to just kind of get you started. I'm not going to go through the arithmetic part of it and how to simplify. But I do want to get through some of the how you plug in, how you get started part of these questions here. So we have functions. Now, function notation, if you are not familiar with function notation, this is function notation. When we see f of x, g of x, h of x, anything of x, instead of saying y equals, all of these represent y. And if all of these said y, we would not know which one to plug into. We would not know if it was f of x, g of x, or h of x. So we have to rename them. So instead of y, we use variables. So we have a whole bunch of variables out there to choose from. So we are being told f of x equals x. We are told g of x, excuse me, g of x is the equation 5x minus 12, and h of x is for the equation x squared plus 4x minus 7. So why is this important? Well, if you look at your questions in your book, the first 4 questions are all having to do with f. So you're going to take each of these and you are going to use the equation for f for all 4 of those problems. For the next 4, it's g of x. So we see the g, and that tells you which one you are plugging into. For the next one, make sure I keep my colors accurate, is h. So we are going to use the equation that is h of x. So it tells us by the different letters, f, g, h, which equation we are plugging into. So when I say plug into, we are plugging in for x. All of these numbers, now I'm going to erase this now, and I'm just going to highlight what is inside the parentheses. That is what we plug in for x. This says f of x. X is in the parentheses. Okay, all of these have an x in the parentheses. Well, this is in the parentheses. That's in the parentheses. That's in the parentheses. That's in the parentheses. Each of those separately, we are going to plug in for x. So I'm not going to do any of the f equations because they are all just x. Wherever you see x, you're going to plug in 10, then -2, then a, and then a plus b. And because it's just x, there is no simplifying. But now when we get to g of x, there is going to be simplifying because we have a 5x minus 12. So whatever we plug in for x, we have to multiply by 5 and then subtract 12. So I'm going to write this here that it was g of x equals 5x minus 12. So everywhere I see an x, I am going to plug in 10. So there's one x. So this would be 5 times 10 minus 12. Then I do the same thing for the -2. 5 times -2 minus 12. So then I'm able to multiply and then subtract. You have to simplify. These are not done. I'm not finishing these for you. The next one would be 5 times a minus 12. So we do 5 times a I'm going to go ahead and finish this one. So we'd have 5 times a, which is 5a, minus 12. We can't go any further. This one is done because we do not have like terms. We've combined, we've simplified, that one is finished. Now the next one, which is g of a plus b, so 5, and the a plus b is what goes in for x. So now I'm going to simplify, combine like terms, and then I'm finished. So here, just a heads up, you would have to distribute first and then combine like terms if you can. Doesn't mean you can. And then simplify, and you're done. Now when you get to h, I'm going to do a little bit more for h. H's equation is x squared plus 4x minus 7. X squared plus 4x minus 7. Let me make sure I wrote that right. Yes. Okay. Now here we have 2 x's. So we're going to have to make sure we plug in twice. So 10 will go in for both x's. Negative 2 will go in for both x's. A will go in for both x's. A plus b will go in for both x's. So to start, I would have 10 squared plus 4 times 10 minus 7. Now you follow order of operations, get rid of your exponent, multiply, add, subtract, go through PEMDAS. You would do the same thing with negative 2. Now be aware, you do have a negative number. Please make sure, notice how whether it's negative or positive. The 10 I also put in parentheses. It's a good habit to use parentheses every time you plug something in. Then we have a, so we would have a squared plus 4 times a minus 7. Simplify, combine things that you can. Now 25 is the one I am actually going to get started for you beyond just plugging in. So a plus b is what goes in for x. So we would have a plus b squared plus 4 times a plus b minus 7. So it was x squared, so a plus b squared. It was 4x, 4a plus b. We do need to remember when we see an exponent of 2, that means there are 2 a plus b's. So I have a plus b times a plus b. You guys will want to go through and do your double distribution. Your teacher may have called it FOIL. I'm not going to call it FOIL. I am going to call it double distribution. You are going to start by distributing the a, and then you're going to distribute the b. And then you will simplify. Back here with the 4, you're going to distribute. When you are done distributing everything, combine like terms, simplify what you can, and you are done. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to go with these because I do want you practicing these. So please make sure we practice. Please do what you are supposed to be doing for homework. Don't just put the answers, you guys. Do the best you can on this homework. And if you need to come in for help, come in and get some help. I will see you guys tomorrow.